Welcome to Real Conversations with Patricia Baranovsky-Schneider, the podcast that takes you on a journey around the world to meet some of the most inspiring and accomplished individuals. Discover their stories, uncover invaluable business lessons from their paths to success, and gain exclusive insights on how to apply their strategies to elevate your life and business.
Hello, and welcome to Real Conversations with Patricia. I'm your host, Patty Baranovsky-Schneider. Today, I'm joined by Sam Mitchell. So welcome, Sam. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
All right. So hello, everyone. My name is Sam Mitchell. I do run a podcast called Autism Rocks and Rolls. It's a podcast about autism and how we cope with daily struggles that you may or may not understand. Through the podcast, it's grown so much, I developed sponsors, a board of 6 members. I'm also an event planner in my hometown of Indiana, which is where I'm from. We've done a lot of vendors. We just got done last month and last year too with our breakfast with Santa. And I'm also a motivational speaker. I've spoken in Oklahoma, Orlando 3 times, Canada twice, Stuart, Florida, Washington, D.C. I've also been a keynote speaker in Daniels, West Virginia. But through the podcast, what I'm really trying to do, and my nonprofit as well, is change the stigma of a population that, in my view, often gets ignored way too much.
Yeah, I agree 100%, and I commend you for doing this. So I guess you told us a little bit about it, like your journey into podcasting. So what inspired you to start Autism Rocks and Rolls, and how did it evolve into a successful platform?
Well, it started I joined my high school's media club, and I fell in love with it so much, I decided to start my own podcast, and that was when Autism Rocks and Rolls was born.
Nice. Very, very nice. Now, your mission to show that autism is not something to be fixed is powerful. So can you elaborate on how the message resonates with your audience and why it's so important?
I think it's important because I kind of stated earlier, we get ignored way too often, and people miss out on what we can do. We're still dealing with a lot of people on the spectrum not being able to work because the boss doesn't want to accommodate us, which is BS in my view, because you're really not going to accommodate us when we can return the favor by working for you? Seriously?
Yeah. You know, it's a tricky thing because I don't know a whole lot about autism, but I know people with autism, including my grandson. I don't understand like the whole spectrum, but I can tell you that everybody I know is completely different. So, you know, people just assume, like I hear so many times, like with my grandson, well, so-and-so did this and they were fine, and so-and-so did that. Or the people who don't know anyone with autism will say, oh, but they'll outgrow it. It's not how it works. And just because one person might have A, B, and C symptoms doesn't mean that everybody else has. And what might affect one doesn't affect the other. And I think there's just so much that people just don't know or understand. And so everybody, when they don't know or understand it, their solution is to just ignore it. But that's not the answer, you know, because, I mean, I actually just did a book for my grandson for Christmas. I just love how he sees the world completely different than I do. And I'm always fascinated. I'm like, I would love to see what you see. You see the beauty in everything. And it's, you know, if people just took the time to really understand it, it would make a world of difference. Yeah.
I agree, buddy. It would so much make the world a better place, in my opinion.
Yeah,
because
100%.
what we can do is not only accommodate them, but in my view, get along.
Yeah, 100%. Now, on your podcast, you've had some incredible guests, including Dr. Temple, Grandin, and Mick Foley. So what were some of the most memorable moments from these interviews?
Obviously, the most memorable moments is you get to learn what they believe.
Yeah.
I mean, Mick Foley believes we should celebrate our differences. He's not wrong.
Right.
And I think Temple Grandin is correct on when some people on the spectrum are bottom-up thinkers. When I say that, they like to reverse engineer.
Okay.
So it's not step by step by step. Instead of walking forward up the stairs, you're walking down the stairs.
Okay. It's actually unique because I saw Temple Grandin's movie years ago. And, you know, again, not everybody sees things the way she did. And it just, what she was able to come up with was like revolutionized like the whole industry, you know, for that specific, at least in the movie, you know, with the cows and whatnot. You know, people I always say give everyone a chance, but don't just shun them because you don't understand them. See what they have to offer. Everybody,
Right.
whether
I
you
agree.
whether you have autism or not, you all offer something. So what do you have to offer, and how can that help me?
Here's a great example too. And this is, I always joke around with this one. I'm in broadcasting currently and going to school for it. I'm in college right now studying it.
Nice.
And I'm always like to joke and say the way we do it with storyboarding and then making the product, it's terrible for me. The way I want to do it is just dive right in,
Right.
jump right in, because I can easily give you word by word what I'm thinking,
Right.
right? Because it's easily picturing certain scenes. Like I could probably describe to you the Iron Man scene from Avengers Endgame, but I can better picture it too
Right.
than tell you about it. But I can also tell you about it too
Right.
and better explain it to you. It's just that if we were doing that scene in particular, I would rather just be the filmmaker describing, okay, here's where you go. Here's what we're going to do. Here's what you go. This is what we're going to do. Here's where you go. All right, now do this, now do this, now do this, instead of drawing it out.
Right.
One, I can't draw is part of the reason, but two, it's also because that's the easier way for me to get the work done
Right.
than waste time with drawing for me,
Yeah. But I
at
mean,
least in particular.
but that would make, years and years ago, people did a textbook way of doing things. And little by little, people are starting to realize that what worked all along doesn't mean it works for everybody. So I like when people come up with a new idea and a new way of doing things, because now it gives people an opportunity to say, well, you know what, this actually is better. It might not work for everybody, but it will work for some. So, giving you the opportunity to say, okay, tell me how you would do it. You'd be surprised. You'll probably reach a wider audience who, follow the same method that you're doing it, as opposed to how it was always done textbook wise. I just think people, give you a chance to just show me what works best for you. And you'd be surprised how many other people it works that way for too, So now tell us,
I agree.
Yeah. Now, as someone living with autism, what challenges have you faced in building your podcast and nonprofit, and how have you overcome them?
Well, part of the challenge is money. I'm terrible with money. The way I figured out that one is I saw someone else do my finances when it comes to AR in particular.
Yeah.
But a lot of challenges come with individually. I do have major crippling anxiety,
Okay.
and sometimes that can get in the way of functioning with the business.
Okay.
Like my latest episode, I had to restart because it was a corrupted file. And before I came on to this episode, I was editing my show. And thankfully it's saved, but I'm still scared to death it's going to be corrupted again. And I have to start over again. And it's going to be a disaster because I've done it again. What am I doing wrong here? I don't know.
Yeah, believe it or not, there's people who are afraid to speak. There are a lot of people who have anxiety, and most people, just kind of blow it off like, oh, it's no big deal. But that is something that can, affect somebody, and just how do you work around it is just, I guess, how you have to learn to navigate the system in a way. I get it. Now, you're also a motivational speaker. So what topics do you cover in your talks, and how do you hope people, what do you hope people take away from them?
Well, mainly autism for one, but it also depends on where we go. So once upon a time, I spoke with emergency workers. So we had to change the language a little bit and hone in on the emergency workers and how they can go into a situation and handle somebody with autism. Mm-hmm. We had another one at a school at Crystal House Doors. It's an adult high school. It's really cool if it's a place where if the adults want to go back to high school and get a high school diploma because they dropped out of high school. Okay. They can go back to the school and get a diploma. Right. But we had an autism workshop there. Okay. And we had to change the language a little bit because they don't want to hear about emergency working. They're not police officers and firefighters, clearly. They want to hear about, okay, I'm a mom and dad of a child with autism. What do I do? Right.
But emergency stuff can come up. Like my grandson, he was 5 at the time, and we went to an apple picking place, and he's so fast. So there was a group of us, we were all there playing, and I don't know if you've ever been apple picking, it's just lanes and lanes of just huge trees and whatnot. And for a split second, he was gone. Now, and he was nonverbal. So now we're like, oh my God, like we're running around, everybody's trying to find him. And we go to, the management, and they're like, okay, what's his name? We'll call him on the loudspeaker. And it's like, he's not going to respond to that. And he's nonverbal. So, it's kind of like, these are things that normal people wouldn't even think that this could be an issue, but it's like, okay, it's an issue for us right now. How do we fix this? And, we actually got him clothes with a sticker on it. If, God forbid, you're ever in a car accident, the police need to understand if your mom or dad are injured in the car accident and the police are going to go to you, you're not going to be able to communicate. And you might be a little taken back because, the emergency, they might not want to hear it, but these are things that they have to understand so that they know how to deal with,
Right. But I think I'm not saying they didn't want to hear it. It was just in particular, it was a different scenario.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're an emergency worker, you're trying to handle the situation.
Right.
If you're a mom and dad in that case, you're not handling the situation. You're just trying to survive.
Right. Yeah. I mean, there's so many different scenarios on what can go right, what could go wrong, and people just need to kind of prepare for everything. I always say, prepare for the worst. Like if you expect the worst but prepare for the best, you understand what could go wrong and hope that never happens. But at least you're prepared if it ever did. Now, you did a TED Talk, so that was soul-structured. It's a big accomplishment. So can you tell us about the experience and what message you shared with the audience?
Well, thank you for the compliment, first of all. But I would say that, unfortunately, it had to be virtual because of the COVID pandemic going around. Mm-hmm. But it still qualified as a TED Talk. The experience was fun. It was definitely different because it's virtual. There was no audience. If it was, it'd be rehearsing.
Right.
This was more of a video essay, and I want to do something different because originally it's going to be about resources, but I figured I bet there's someone in the TEDx that's already done that. I'm going to waste a big opportunity if I repeat that same TED Talk.
Right.
So what I did was I incorporated one of my hobbies, which happens to be pinball, and made that into a episode about structure, which I already had a podcast episode about, so I just really enhanced it more.
Okay.
Is what I did.
Nothing wrong with that. And I'm sure it touched home to a lot of people, So what do you think are the biggest misconceptions about autism? And how does your podcast help to break the stereotypes?
One misconception is we hate to socialize. Now, is that true to a point? I'm not going to deny it. It is. There's some that do not like to socialize. You'd be surprised with me. Do I prefer to socialize? Sure. But here's the kicker. I need to be mentally ready for it. It takes a lot of energy for me to go to a crowd with people. Great example is I think one day, someday, I don't know when, my family is planning on taking me to a nice restaurant.
Okay.
And I'm thankful for it, but there's a lot of people. Yeah. I mean, I'm not the only one eating in the restaurant. It's expensive, but there's a lot of people who have money.
Right.
I'm going to have to mentally prep for that.
Right.
But there is some who don't like to socialize at all. Like if it was up to them, they'd be in a cave by themselves.
Right.
So part of it's true, but there's a part of it that's inaccurate. Right. That's not everybody. There's some of the spectrum who are very extroverted and like to socialize. Okay. They're not like me who need to mentally prep. I can do it. I just got to prep for it.
Right.
They can do it without the prep.
Yeah, that's what I said. The spectrum there's such a wide variety of, quirks, I guess, with each different person. It's completely different. And it doesn't even have to be autism. Like I know there's an influencer that I follow online who just now was able to go out into public. I forget the term they use for that, where he just couldn't leave his house. Just, had this phobia. And, this man is like in his 40s and he's just now being able to leave the house. So really just, people understanding that we're all different in our own unique ways. We're all different. What works for you may not work for the next person, vice versa. And there's just a term acceptance, accept and understand what people are dealing with. It doesn't mean that makes them a freak at all. They just do things different. And like you said, you may be, have great ideas on how to do something that I would have never even thought of. so we work together. It's just, I think just bringing acceptance into the world and understanding. So because I think people are afraid of what they don't know. So if they start to get a little more understanding and realize that they're, because I hate when people, like, especially with my grandson, where they'll say, well, so-and-so did this and so-and-so did that. And their parent, that doesn't mean that that's going to work for him. What you're doing might not have worked for that kid, so it's like, it's just different. And I think people just need to understand it a little more. So I'm glad that you're doing the podcast that talks about it.
Well, it's frustrating too when others won't study it because there's no affiliation with autism for you.
Yeah.
I mean, you clearly had to study it because you had affiliation with it.
Right.
You had no choice.
Yeah.
But it's the people who do have a choice and then they're like, no, I got to go to work.
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah.
I think you need to know a little bit about it because you don't know.
Yeah.
Hey, you may get a diagnosis one day. You might get another son one day.
Yeah.
Or your other kid who is on the spectrum may get a brother one day who's on the autism spectrum.
Yeah.
You don't know.
Well, that's same with me. I mean, reality was I never learned about it because I never had to. It didn't really affect me, so I didn't need to know it. And now that I need to know it, I still don't know half of what I need to know, but I'm still little by little learning. And that's where I'm getting confused because there's not enough information. And it's, such a broad, there's just such a wide variety of the spectrum that I don't fully understand how it all works, but I'm learning as I go along. But people that, especially in a business or in a school or whatever the case may be, like you say, you never know. These are stuff you should know because you don't know. It could be at your doorstep tomorrow, and are you prepared for it?
It's better to study it now than later on when you have to be like, oh boy,
Yeah,
I don't know what to do.
yeah, 100%. Now, you're not just a podcaster, but also an entrepreneur with sponsors, merchandise, and space. So what advice do you have for others looking to turn their passions into a thriving business?
Well, I would say if they want to turn their passion into a business, go for it. I think those with the spectrum have a business mindset. They have the qualities for a business mindset. I always joke to say some of the best business people are on the autism spectrum because we get things done.
Right.
We don't like to procrastinate. That was the same way with me in school, too. It hit me at an early age. I was always the type of kid in school who would do something either right away because I want to get it done. And that's what life is about. Sometimes getting things done.
Right.
Not all the time. You want to enjoy the scenario in some cases.
Right.
But some things it's getting it done or the day or procrastinate until it's due. That way I don't have to worry about it until it's completed. And I'm always responsible on doing it because I've always had a hard time dividing assignments.
Okay. Yeah, it's funny because I'm the same way. I just want to get stuff done. Like I'm the one who goes on vacation, comes home, and people are like, "Oh, just put your suitcase there, deal with it tomorrow." No, I have to have everything unpacked. I have it all put away because I just want everything prepared. So it's done so that whatever life throws at me tomorrow, I got time to handle it. So I get it. Now, you also focus on mental health in your work. So how do you address mental health in your podcast? And why is it a critical part of your mission?
Well, because of mental health issues I've had. I mean, I don't think it's easy to wake up every day feeling good about yourself. It's not. I mean, I have anxiety, depression. I have ADHD too. So it's always been stinking for me that I feel like in my brain I had to move because there have been days where I ran a mile, metaphorically, clearly, and it's been exhausting. But in my brain, it has to get done. Because I'm being slapped in the face saying, dude, what are you doing? Don't sleep. But then that also may become sleep apnea. The doctors still don't know why I have that. I gotta wear a CPAP machine when I sleep. I call it my breathing machine because my brain don't breathe at night.
Wow. So you definitely are in a good position to talk about a wide variety of topics. But again, there's someone out there that you're going to be helping, and that's all that matters.
Yes, ma'am.
So tell us, what's next for Autism Rocks and Rolls? And are there any new podcast guests or goals that you're working towards?
Well, one's going to be coming out tomorrow, I believe.
Nice.
He actually is a very interesting story. this boy, apparently he's a boy. He fostered a boy
Okay.
who was on the autism spectrum, and he survived a motorcycle accident. So I thought that was a pretty good guess right there.
Mm.
And then let me think of what else. We always in April, because that's Autism Awareness Month, have our gala.
Okay.
We like to call it Autism Acceptance Month because we're aware of it. I just don't think we're accepting of it, and we need to get there.
Yeah.
Always in the summer, we have a summer concert. Usually at one of my sponsors' place called the Bluebird
Okay.
at the Hairbangers. So hopefully that will go smoothly.
Nice.
Then my board president lives in Illinois, and he always does a fundraiser for the Autism Rocks and Rolls, and we may have a special person coming this time. It's an AGT contestant. I'm going to keep it secret though, who, because it's not confirmed yet.
Okay.
Feel free to
Be
take a
nice
guess.
surprise.
Who? I mean, I'll give you a hint though. It is a golden buzzer, so that might be a little something for you.
I am bad with names.
There you go. Look up golden buzzers, and you can figure it out.
Okay.
For last year.
Okay.
And then let me see what else. And then in the summertime, typically we have a motorcycle poker run. That was actually my dad's idea because
that's
he
different.
loves
Nice.
motorcycles,
Okay.
and I like hearing the sounds of motorcycles. And he's got buddies who like motorcycles, so we figured we'd give that a shot. And the event typically works.
Wow. Very nice. Oh, good stuff. Now, how could people learn more about you or find out what you're up to and get involved and whatnot?
You can find me on AutismRocksandRolls.com. I'm not a hard guy to find. If you Google me in search engine optimization, something will pop up always.
Okay. Nice. Well, thank you again for being on the show. Again, that was Sam Mitchell. So thanks for listening to Real Conversations with Patricia. Never miss an episode by subscribing to the channel. So thank you again.
Thank you for listening to Real Conversations with Patricia, talking with some of the most brilliant minds on their journey to success and their recommended strategies. Please leave your feedback and visit pristineadvisors.com to get the latest and greatest business advisement on the planet. Feel free to let me know your thoughts, suggestions, and anything else you'd like me to cover. Together, we can make success happen for all.